The words hung in the air of my parents' dining room as 16 pairs of eyes fixed on me. My cousin Mark had just finished his grand announcement about my supposed beach house. My casa, actually a sprawling oceanfront estate I'd purchased through my holding company last year. I'm James Anderson, 34, CEO of Horizon Developments. But to my family, I'm just quiet Jimmy who got lucky with some small real estate deals. They have no idea that I own half the coastline properties in 3 states. It's settled then. Aunt Patricia clapped her hands. The kids will love having their own beach for the summer. Jimmy dear, we'll need the keys by next week. I took another bite of turkey, maintaining my calm as I had for the past decade while building my empire in secret. The family had always treated me as the black sheep after I walked away from the family's small construction business to waste time on my own ventures. I can't wait to redecorate, my cousin Emma chimed in. That place needs a woman's touch. No offense, Jimmy, but bachelor decor isn't exactly family-friendly. If they only knew about the $12 million in custom furnishings or the smart home system that cost more than their houses combined. I glanced at my watch, right on schedule. Actually, I said quietly, reaching for my phone as it buzzed. You might want to see this. The local news notification lit up my screen. Breaking mysterious buyer of Crystal Cove Resort revealed. Local developer James Anderson's $300 million acquisition includes hotel marina and luxury residences. I turned the phone toward the table. The silence was deafening as realization dawned on their faces. The beach house they planned to commandeer was actually the centerpiece of the most exclusive oceanfront development on the East Coast. But that's not possible, Mark stammered. You live in that tiny apartment downtown. I smiled. The apartment above my office. That's just convenient for work. The beach property is where I host investors and corporate retreats. Speaking of which, the G7 Economic Summit is booked there next month. Mom dropped her fork. Dad's face turned pale. My brother-in-law Tom, who'd spent years mocking my failed career, suddenly found his plate fascinating. Jimmy, my father started, his voice shaking slightly. Why didn't you tell us? I took a slow sip of water, memories flooding back. The day I left the family business after Dad refused to consider my modernization proposals. The Christmas dinner where Mark announced I was too irresponsible to handle any real investments. Every family gathering where they dismissed my little projects while praising others' modest achievements. I did try to tell you, I replied calmly. Remember 3 years ago when I suggested the family company invest in coastal developments? Mark said, and I quote, leave the real business to people who understand money. The news continued playing on my phone. Anderson's Horizon Developments has quietly acquired over $2 billion in premium oceanfront properties. $2 billion, Aunt Patricia whispered. That's just the public portfolio, I said, standing up. Now about the beach house, I'm afraid it's not available for family vacations. The presidential suite is already booked through 2026, and the private residences are reserved for our international investors. But we're family, Emma protested. Yes, we are, I agreed, which is why I came today with an offer. I opened my briefcase and pulled out several folders. The family construction company is struggling. I know because I've been monitoring its finances. You've lost market share to more innovative competitors, and the banks are getting nervous about your loans. Dad started to protest, but Mom grabbed his arm, shaking her head slightly. I'm prepared to offer a partnership. Horizon Developments needs a reliable construction contractor for our next phase of development. 6 new resorts, starting with a $500 million project in Malibu. The room was absolutely silent now. Even the kids had stopped playing to stare. But I continued, this isn't a handout. Any family member who wants to be part of this needs to earn it. Starting from entry-level positions, learning the modern construction and development industry from the ground up. No shortcuts, no nepotism. Entry-level, Mark scoffed. I have 20 years of experience in outdated methods and declining markets, I replied. My companies use AI-driven project management, sustainable building practices, and integrated smart systems. Experience with hammer and nails isn't enough anymore. I placed the folders on the table. Inside you'll find employment applications and training program details. Anyone interested can submit them to HR by next Friday. Starting salary is competitive, but you'll need to prove yourselves like any other employee. And if we refuse? Dad asked quietly. Then nothing changes. I shrugged. You continue running your company your way. But the market isn't getting any easier for traditional contractors. Standing up, I straightened my jacket. I have a video call with our Tokyo investors in an hour. Thank you for dinner, Mom. The turkey was excellent as always. As I walked toward the door, my younger cousin Sarah, fresh out of college, and the only one who'd ever shown genuine interest in my work, spoke up. Jimmy, I mean Mr. Anderson, when can I start? I turned back and smiled. HR opens at 9 a.m. Monday. Bring your degree and be ready to learn. The drive back to my office gave me time to reflect. A decade of calculated moves, living below my means while building an empire in secret, had led to this moment. Not for revenge, but for something more important, transformation. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. We should talk, just us. Dinner tomorrow, 7 p.m. at Crystal Cove, I replied. I'll have the chef prepare your favorite salmon. Looking out over the city, I'd helped reshape. I felt a weight lift. The secret was out, but this was just the beginning. Now came the real challenge, teaching my family the difference between being given something and earning it. As I pulled into my reserved space beneath the downtown office tower, which I also owned, my phone lit up with notifications. The family group chat was exploding. Cousin Mark had already sent his resume to HR. Dad was asking about meeting for coffee. Things were about to get very interesting. The next morning, my office buzzed with unusual activity. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my penthouse office, I watched the city wake up. While reviewing security alerts from the lobby, 3 family members had already shown up. It's 7 a.m. Sir, my assistant Michael's voice came through the intercom. Your cousin Mark is insisting on seeing you. He's been here since we opened. I checked the security feed. Mark, still wearing yesterday's suit, clutched a leather portfolio like a lifeline. The man who'd spent years calling my business ideas cute little projects now looked decidedly less confident. Send him up in 20 minutes, I replied. And Michael, make sure he goes through standard visitor protocols. I smiled, knowing what that meant. Mark would have to surrender his phone, sign NDAs, and wait in the orientation room. A deliberately intimidating space with wall-to-wall screens, displaying our global projects and real-time financial data. While waiting, I reviewed the overnight reports from our international offices. The Maldives resort was ahead of schedule. Singapore had closed another acquisition. Tokyo wanted to increase their investment. The intercom buzzed again. Mr. Anderson, your cousin has completed processing. Also, your father and Aunt Patricia are now in the lobby. Keep them there for now. Send Mark in. The door opened, and Mark entered, looking significantly more humbled, after 30 minutes of watching our corporate empire in action. James, I mean Mr. Anderson, he stammered, clutching his portfolio tighter. We need to talk about yesterday. I gestured to a chair. Sit. He sat, then immediately launched into what was clearly a rehearsed speech. Look, I know we've all been, let me start over. I brought my complete resume and portfolio, 20 years of construction experience. I can start immediately as a project manager or director. I held up my hand, stopping him mid-sentence. Did you read the folders I distributed yesterday? Well, yes, but surely those entry-level requirements don't apply to someone with my experience. I turned my monitor toward him, displaying his construction company's project history. Your last 10 projects, all residential, all using traditional methods, all running over budget. No experience with smart integration, sustainable materials, or modern project management systems. But the position you're qualified for, I continued, is junior project coordinator. 6 months of intensive training, followed by supervised project work. Starting salary is $75,000 with full benefits. His face reddened. That's less than half what I make now. Your current salary is artificially inflated by family connections, not market value. Here you'll earn based on performance and capability. This is ridiculous. He stood up. I'm your cousin. Exactly why I'm offering you a chance at all. I pulled up another screen. Your company has 3 projects in default, Mark. The banks are circling. How long before you have to lay off workers? That hit home. He sank back into the chair. The choice is yours, I said softly. Keep running a failing business, based on outdated methods, or learn how modern development works, starting from the ground up. And if I accept, I slid a tablet across the desk. Sign the employment agreement. Training starts Monday. You'll report to Sarah. Sarah? My sister Sarah. She's fresh out of college, who completed her degree in sustainable architecture and smart city development. She signed on this morning at 6 a.m., already finished her first training module. Mark stared at the tablet for a long moment. Then with a slightly shaking hand, he picked up the stylus and signed. Welcome to Horizon Developments, I said, standing. HR will handle your orientation. Don't be late Monday. As he left, looking slightly shell-shocked, I checked the lobby feed. Dad and Aunt Patricia were still waiting, now joined by my sister Emma and her husband Tom. Michael, I called through the intercom, please escort my father up. The others can schedule appointments through proper channels. Dad entered minutes later, looking older than yesterday. He'd been the patriarch of our family for so long, the unquestioned authority on all things business. Now he stood in his son's office, clearly struggling with the role reversal. The company's really failing, he asked without preamble. I pulled up the financial reports. 3 months of payroll left, maximum. The market's changed, Dad. Small residential projects can't sustain the overhead anymore. He nodded slowly. And your offer? Partnership with your company. Conditional on modernization. Complete restructuring. New methods, new technology, new management. Under your leadership, he said quietly. Yes, he walked to the window, looking out over the city skyline. So many buildings now bearing my company's subtle mark. All those years, he murmured. When you tried to tell us about technology, about changing markets, we thought we knew better. You taught me the fundamentals, Dad. Work ethic, attention to detail, integrity. I just applied them to a changing world. He turned back, eyes slightly wet. And now, what happens to our workers? Some have been with us for decades. I opened another file on my tablet. Everyone who wants to stay gets retraining. Full salary during the transition. Those near retirement can take an enhanced package. You've thought of everything. I've had years to plan this, Dad. Watching the company struggle, knowing this day would come. He squared his shoulders. The proud builder I remembered from childhood making one last stand. And my role in all this? Special advisor to the CEO, I replied. After completing the executive training program, 3 months, full immersion in modern methods. Then you helped me guide the company into its next phase. 3 months of being a student again. He almost smiled. Your mother will never let me hear the end of it. Mom already texted her acceptance this morning. She starts IT training next week. Said something about showing you how it's done. That got a real laugh. 35 years of marriage, and she still surprises me. He grew serious again. The others downstairs will follow the same process as Mark. No special treatment. They earn their places or find other opportunities. Dad picked up the tablet I'd prepared with his agreement. You know, son, I was wrong about a lot of things, but I got one thing right. I raised a son who understands the true meaning of family, which is, sometimes love means making people face hard truths. He signed the tablet. When do I start? Tomorrow, 8 a.m. Don't be late, 8. Your instructor is quite strict about punctuality. Anyone I know. Remember Jason, the intern you said was wasting time with computers instead of learning real construction. He's our chief technology officer now. Dad laughed again, shaking his head. Well, this should be interesting. As he left, I checked my calendar. Dinner with Mom tonight would be interesting. She'd always been the quiet observer, probably knowing more than she let on. The family company's transformation was just beginning, but already I could see the foundations of something stronger emerging. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Thanks for the chance, cousin. Already learning tons. P.S. 8. Did you really mean that part about the presidential suite being booked through 2026? I smiled, typing back, focus on your training. But no, it's only booked through 2025. Family rates might be available after that, if you earn them. Looking down at the lobby, I watched as Mark explained something to the others, gesturing animatedly. One by one, they headed to the HR office. Change was coming, ready or not. 1 week into the family's integration at Horizon Developments, I stood in the observation room, watching through one-way glass as our new employees tackled their first major test. The scene before me was both amusing and enlightening. Mark, stripped of his expensive suit and now wearing standard company attire, was struggling with a virtual reality simulator for sustainable building design. His face showed pure frustration as the holographic model collapsed for the third time. You can't just force traditional support structures into a carbon-neutral framework, Sarah called from her station. She'd already completed the exercise and was helping others. The materials respond differently. Try thinking in terms of organic distribution. In the corner, Dad sat with Jason, our CTO, learning the basics of our proprietary project management software. To his credit, he hadn't complained once about the long hours or complex systems. Sir, Michael appeared at my side. The quarterly investors meeting is in 10 minutes. And there's a situation in the lobby. I checked the security feed on my tablet. Aunt Patricia and 3 cousins were creating a scene, demanding to speak with me about their unfair training assignments. Have security escort them out, I said calmly. Send them an email reminding them that all communication goes through HR during the probationary period. Even family, Michael asked. Especially family. The past week had revealed 2 distinct groups among my relatives. Those willing to learn and adapt, Mike's like Sarah, Dad, and surprisingly, Mark, and those who expected special treatment because of our shared DNA. I took one last look at the training room. Mom was excelling in her IT courses, already helping modernize our documentation systems. She'd confided during our dinner that she'd been secretly taking online courses for years, preparing for the day the company would need to change. The investors' meeting went smoothly. Our Asian partners were particularly pleased with the family integration program, seeing it as a perfect blend of tradition and innovation. The stock price reflected their confidence, jumping 3% by closing. Later that afternoon, I called Sarah into my office. How's the team progressing? I asked. She sat down, professional and composed, a far cry from the nervous intern who'd started last week. Mark's struggling but trying hard. Uncle Tom quit yesterday, said the entry-level work was beneath him. Dad's doing surprisingly well with the tech training. But, she hesitated. Go on. Some of the cousins are spreading rumors, saying you're deliberately humiliating the family, that this is all revenge for how they treated you before. I leaned back in my chair. And what do you think? I think you're doing exactly what you told us, making us earn our places. The ones complaining are the same ones who never wanted to learn new things in the first place. Exactly. I pulled up a project file on the main screen, which is why I'm promoting you to team lead for the Malibu project. Her eyes widened, but it's only been a week. You completed 3 weeks of training modules in 5 days. Your project simulations are perfect. And most importantly, you understand why we're doing things this way. What about the others? They'll say it's favoritism. I smiled. Check your simulation scores against the company average. You earned this, Sarah. Nothing to do with being family. Just then my phone buzzed. A text from Mark. Finished the structural integrity test. Failed twice but finally got it. Request permission to stay late and practice more. See? I showed Sarah the message. The ones who really want to learn will find their way. That evening, I made a surprise visit to the training floor. It was well past normal hours, but 5 lights were still on. Mark and Dad were working together on a simulation. Mom was deep in coding practice. 2 other cousins were studying sustainable materials specifications. I watched them silently, remembering my own late nights learning the business. The secret to success wasn't just about smart investments or market timing. It was about being hungry to learn, to grow, to evolve. They're really trying, Michael observed, joining me. The ones who matter are, I agreed. The others will either catch up or find their own paths. My phone buzzed again. Aunt Patricia demanding a family meeting to discuss the harsh working conditions. I blocked the number without hesitation. The time for coddling was over. Sir, Michael said carefully, there's something you should see. He handed me his tablet. On it was a local business news article: family drama at Horizon Developments. Sources claim CEO forcing relatives into menial positions. Find out who leaked this, I said calmly. They've just violated their NDAs. Terminate them immediately. Already done, sir. It was your cousin Peter. He lasted 3 days in training before quitting. I nodded, then walked into the training room. The late-night crew looked up, probably expecting to be told to go home. Instead, I pulled up a chair. Who wants to learn about our next international expansion? For the next 2 hours, I walked them through real projects, showing how each element they were learning played a crucial role. Dad's eyes lit up when he saw how traditional construction wisdom could enhance modern methods. Mark actually solved a design problem that had been stumping our engineers. As they left for the night, Sarah hung back. "Cousin Jimmy," she said, using my old name for the first time in a week, "thank you. Not just for the opportunity, but for making us work for it." "The company's future will need strong leaders," I replied. "People who understand both where we came from and where we're going. Speaking of which, Matt, would you like to join me in Tokyo next month? The team there could use your sustainable design expertise." Her smile lit up the room. Looking out over the city lights, I felt a deep satisfaction. The family business wasn't dying. It was evolving. Those willing to evolve with it would help build something greater than any of us could have imagined alone. My phone buzzed one last time. I messaged from Mom: "Proud of you, son. Not just for what you built, but for how you're helping others build themselves." I smiled, typing back: "Learned from the best. See you at training tomorrow." 6 months after the Thanksgiving revelation, I stood on the rooftop helipad of Horizon Tower, watching our corporate helicopter descend. Sarah and Mark stepped out, returning from their successful presentation at the Malibu project launch. The transformation had been remarkable. Of the 16 family members who started, 8 remained, the ones who'd truly embraced change. They weren't just employees anymore, they were leaders. $800 million in pre-sales, Sarah announced, handing me the contracts. The sustainable design features sold themselves. Even the skeptical investors were impressed. Mark nodded, tablet in hand, and we're 20% under budget thanks to the new AI management systems. Remember when I used to call that fancy computer stuff? We walked to the executive conference room where the others waited. Mom had become our chief of operations, her hidden tech skills revolutionizing our processes. Dad, now fully embracing his role as special advisor, had found his sweet spot bridging traditional construction wisdom with modern innovations. "Time for the final phase," I announced, taking my seat at the head of the table. "As you know, today marks the end of the probationary period." The room grew quiet. They'd all earned their positions, but this meeting would determine the future structure of our family enterprise. "Horizon Developments is expanding," I continued. "We're launching 3 new divisions: Sustainable Developments, Smart Infrastructure, and Global Operations. Each needs a strong leader." I turned to Sarah. "Sustainable Developments is yours. Your designs have already changed industry standards." She straightened, professional but unable to hide her smile. "Mark, you'll head Smart Infrastructure. Your combination of traditional knowledge and new technology expertise is exactly what we need." He nodded, a far cry from the arrogant cousin who tried to commandeer my beach house. "Mom, Global Operations continues under your leadership. Dad, you'll oversee the integration of our remaining family construction assets into the main company." I passed out folders containing their new contracts and equity stakes. The amounts made even Mark whistle softly. "We're not just family anymore," I said. "We're partners. Each of you has earned this, not by birth, but by embracing change and proving your worth." "And the others?" Mom asked quietly, referring to the family members who'd quit or been terminated. "They'll receive fair market value for their shares in the old company. But Horizon's future belongs to those who built it." Dad cleared his throat. "I owe you an apology, son. All those years we thought we were protecting the family business. Instead, we were holding it back." "No apologies needed," I replied. "Everything happened exactly as it needed to. Now, let's talk about the future." The meeting ran late into the evening as we planned our next expansion. Looking around the table, I saw no trace of the entitled relatives who tried to claim my beach house. In their place sat confident executives, each bringing unique strengths to our shared vision. As the others filed out, Sarah lingered. "The beach house," she said with a slight smile. "It was never about that, was it?" "It was about showing everyone two paths," I replied. "Remain comfortable with what you know, or challenge yourself to grow. You all chose growth." And the presidential suite, still booked through 2026. I tossed her a key card. "Family weekend next month. You've all earned it." Later, standing at my office window, I reflected on our journey. The family business hadn't died. It had evolved into something stronger, better, more sustainable, not through inheritance or entitlement, but through hard work, learning, and determination. My phone buzzed one last time. A group photo from Mark. The remaining family members, still at their desks, celebrating their promotions with takeout and tired smiles. The caption read, "Thank you for making us earn it." I saved the photo, knowing it represented something precious. The moment when family finally meant partnership, not obligation. The sun set over the city skyline, glinting off the buildings that bore our company's mark. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but now we'd face them together. Not as entitled relatives, but as a true family of builders, each having earned their place in our shared legacy. The end.